One of the scariest things happened to me after I gave birth almost 3 weeks ago. Let's talk about it. My name is Abby. I'm a mom of four. I have a 14-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old son, a 14-month-old son, and a 3-week-old newborn baby girl. I shared on some of my social channels that I ended up back in the hospital after having my baby. It was about 12 days after having my baby, and I ended up having postpartum preeclampsia. Something that I literally had never heard of. I heard of like regular preeclampsia before, but it was never really something that I researched or looked into because I literally have never had a problem with my blood pressure. For those of you that know me from other social media channels, you know that I lost 130 pounds doing a ketogenic and low carb lifestyle, which meant I ate a lot of bacon. Bacon is still probably my main source of protein, and I have never, ever had a problem with my blood pressure. But I ended up going into the emergency room because when I was laying down, I was having trouble breathing without it hurting. Like, it was literally hurting in the right side of my abdomen. It was painful to breathe. And Anthony had recorded me sleeping, and it sounded like I was like literally gurgling water. I also had a very bad headache, and I never get headaches, but I thought, okay, I've got a headache because like I just had a new baby. This is completely normal. But I had literally never heard of postpartum preeclampsia before. I ended up calling my doctor, telling them how I felt, and I thought they were going to be like, oh yeah, it's because you just had a baby and you've had two babies really close together, because they said recovery when you have babies close together is harder. So I was like, okay, let me stop being a little crybaby. Like, everything's going to be fine. Well, they ended up telling me to go into the emergency room. It was like completely unexpected. So I ended up going over to the emergency room. I ended up being admitted. But when I got to the hospital, I handed them my driver's license, and I literally went blind inside of the emergency room. My blood pressure was so high. People have given me a lot of shit about keeping my hospital bracelets on, but it was literally something that saved my life, because they knew, because of my hospital bracelets, that I had just had a baby. It was able to give them information that I was not able to give in that moment. So I'm not telling you to keep your hospital bracelets on, but it is something that helped me. Ended up being admitted to the hospital and had to stay for 5 days. I was on a magnesium drip and tons of different medications trying to manage my blood pressure and get it out of the 200s. I have been out of the hospital now for a little over a week. Almost, I got out of the hospital Sunday, so it's been a little over, a week and a half, I guess. I'm still on some medications. I'm seeing my doctor like every 3 days so that we can balance out the medications and try to wean myself off of them. But my heart was enlarged and I had 40 pounds of fluid that they removed. I was on Lasix, a bunch of different other medications, but diuretics were included in that to get the fluid out. They literally said that if I had gotten there any later, I probably wouldn't have made it. There was a girl that came in the day before me, and she was in the ICU, and from what I understand, she didn't make it. There was a girl that came in just a few hours before me that literally had the same thing going on, and she started stroking out and seizing like right there in the waiting room. I am doing much better now, and I'm taking medications like I was taking them 8 times a day. Now it's 6 times a day. And then over the next couple of weeks, I'll continue to work with my doctor to get myself off of those medications. But it was really scary because I had literally never heard of it before. Never had blood pressure issues. So while you were going around and looking for all of this stuff that you need because you're getting ready to have a baby, please make sure that you have a blood pressure cuff in your home. And I personally would recommend taking your blood pressure either before or after you feed your baby. If breastfeeding, if that's what you're doing, or feeding or whatever is really stressful for you, then I would take it before. If breastfeeding or feeding your baby is calming for you, then I would take it after you feed the baby. But forget about like the most expensive baby swing and all that stuff. You need a blood pressure cuff. It was really difficult because I had to be away from my baby for a couple of days. When I was on the magnesium drip, I was not allowed to have her there for me because it literally like shuts your whole body down. You can't move. You're like basically tied to the bed. And that was really difficult. Eventually, they did let me bring her up there and let her stay with me. My family, thankfully, was in town. Anthony had surprised me with them just a few days before, so they were able to help out with the kids. He was able to stay at the hospital, but it was a really scary time, and I'm really glad that we're moving like further and further away from it. But those days away from my baby definitely, I feel like, affected my mental health, and I was like, I need to have her here with me, like right now. So that's the update for those of you that are wondering. My blood pressure is doing much better. It has been manageable with the medication. And like I said, over the next couple of weeks, we are going to keep working with the doctor to eventually wean me off of all the medication, because this is not expected to be a long-term thing. But if you don't know anything about postpartum preeclampsia, please look it up. Literally, it could save your life. It's known as like the silent killer, especially for women of color.